Hey guys, Daily here, and welcome back to Let's Play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, or rather, my second attempt at recording this episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. The good news, the first time I tried, it wasn't recording. The good news is that playing the levels all over again is almost completely the same experience. The bad news is the collectibles don't show up again, obviously. And, of course, I leveled up once while we were gone. I love how they've got... That is Donnie's taunt. He's sitting there playing a gray brick Game Boy, and he'll go, "Just a minute!" and then look over his shoulder. It's adorable. And this is what I really wanted to show you guys, because I leveled up. I reached level 8. In the failed recording and got a third ninja power gauge and radical mode, which I will talk more about when it becomes appropriate in stage 11. So, I will tell you where the collectibles are.
A few screws loose.
And we will check out, go through these. So that pizza store there, the one that's weird pizzas, appears, you can just see the name written on there. It appears in the early, I think, second season episode, The Case of the Killer Pizzas, which will be germane to this game again later. So, we'll talk more about it then. Fucking roadkill Rodneys. I hate these things. They're such pains. I know these things stole the rhino and the warthog from the Central Park Zoo to mutate. There is a disgusting bug under that trash can, by the way. Yeah. So, anyway, they stole the rhino and the warthog from the Central Park Zoo so that Shredder could use them to make Bebop and Rocksteady. Man, first season Shredder is amazing. One of the things that James Avery did, and also Peter Renade being Splinter / Hamato Yoshi, they didn't try and do Japanese accents, because they probably would have come out sounding stereotypical. Instead, in the first season, they both speak very formally, without use of contractions, which is not uncommon for English as a second language speakers, ESL. And of course, then they're both just very formal anyway, because they're ninja. Splinter never really loses that. Shredder gets really colloquial in some of the later. Second time around, that is the antique store that April lives over in the original comic, and thus has shown up basically as the same thing in the first live-action movie in 1990, the 2003 cartoon series, and the IDW comics that are running right now, I think. Shredder gets some great lines later on, like, "Every time we try, the turtles show up and boot our butts from here to Hoboken." Totally loses the formality. There was a VHS tape under that second crate that I broke. So, I don't think this warehouse itself is particularly cartoon-based, but I could be wrong. Like I said, it was a long time ago. I watched 6 seasons religiously, the 7th in bits and pieces, and really did not watch 8, 9, and 10. Though I did do some research. I only did some research for this, because a lot of this is still just completely off the top of my head, so. That said, I am a geek who does research for fun, so. But yeah, in the earliest episodes, Shredder is saying things like, "I should not have sent a punk to do a ninja's job." But he has one great scene really early on. He goes to Bebop and Rocksteady's and their gang, because, in the beginning, they had a gang. And he says, "I need 2 of you for an experiment." And they're kind of like, meh. let's see. Oh, right. That Shredder there is from the very first game, the one released under the Ultra imprint. He comes on your TV at the beginning and tells you he's kidnapped Splinter. One funny thing is that in that game, every time you go to the pause screen, April's there telling you what to do, and she says, "You have my support." So in this game, when April revives a character in multiplayer, she may say that as one of her voice clips. It's hilarious. And by the way, guys, this is what an electronics store looked like in the late 80s. Basically, this place is based so much on Radio Shack. It may be a brand that actually showed up in the show, I'm not sure, but the visuals are very Radio Shack, because that used to be the place. So Shredder's, to the goons, says, "It will give you strength and abilities undreamed of." So what? "It will make you mightier than a dozen mortal men." Big hairy deal. "It will enable you to get even with those 4 turtles who so recently humiliated you." And, of course, the entire gang starts clamoring, going, "Where do I sign?" And Shredder, "But I only need 2 volunteers." And just James Avery's performance there is so good. Honestly, even if most of the original show struck you as too silly, you might watch the first season. It was still pretty silly. You wouldn't last 5 minutes in a ninja pizza parlor. I love saying lines like that. But they could do serious in ways that I think was better than when they tried to make it more serious in season 7, 8, 9, and 10. But that's just a personal thing. So, of course, we need to get pizza! Because we've got a boss coming up.
Delete the turtles.
Hi, Metalhead. If you're playing with Donnie, he has a line here which is, "Don't worry, Metalhead, I'll fix ya." Metalhead is here mostly because he was a boss in Turtles in Time. And in that game, there was no reason for him to be fighting the Turtles. I mean, no reason given. So in this game, he's here, and obviously Shredder has reprogrammed him, because I think that probably happened in the original episode. Now, I just knocked him out of an attack there. He will put up a force field and start...
It's also clear to me now, the turtles are my friends.
He starts spamming missiles everywhere. One of those missiles won't explode, and the only way to get him out of that before he decides to quit is to knock the unexploded missile into his force field. Otherwise, he's invincible. But I killed him before that. Oh look, it's Krang's butt.
Tonight, I dine on turtle soup.
Sorry, James Avery's delivery was much better. Speaking of the first season, the last episode of the first season, the Shredder is shredded and splintered, excuse me, is where that line comes from. Shredder has...
Dinosaur stampede!
Shredder has an anti-mutagen gun, which the Turtles want to get to turn Splinter back into Hamato Yoshi. But at the end of the episode, he's got them at gunpoint, and Raphael says, "Well, guys, looks like it's back to the pet shop for us." And Shredder's line is, "Far from it. Tonight, I dine on turtle soup." And then Splinter appears, destroys the gun, and kicks Shredder's ass. But, yep, payphones! This is actually, the Natural History Museum is in the correct place on the map, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, and then we have these dudes. Meet the Triceratons. They are an alien race. They are herbivorous, despite how mean they look, because somebody remembered that the Cape buffalo, which is also an herbivore, is one of the 5 most dangerous animals on the planet. They are a militaristic and expansionist society, either the Triceraton Empire or the Triceraton Republic, depending on your continuity. They were created for an earlier Mirage Comics property called Fugitoid, and then got folded folded. They have made appearances in Turtles later, and I believe they've shown up in every continuity since. In the 86 cartoon, they arrived, and the Turtles were helpless against them. There's a VHS tape under that pamphlet thing. The Turtles were helpless against them, and it was in fact Donatello who defeated them in his identity as the Dark Turtle. Yet Donnie, of all people, had a 90s anti-hero style alternate identity. Season 7 was weird. But Donatello showed up, and as the Dark Turtle, convinced them he was the ruler of the planet using some of the animatronics from the Natural History Museum, and some of his own tech tricks, and sent them running away. So that was pretty cool. Kill that. I'm sure some of this shit is deep cuts. Some of that Egyptian stuff might be from an episode with a, an Egyptologist who wanted to become summon a pharaoh's power or something. I mean, it was really... This show could get really strange. But I don't really recognize most of this shit. It could certainly be historical, and I just don't recognize it. There is a disgusting bug under that crate that I just broke. And then we have these assholes. I hate these guys. Which is why you see me using, so many... Yep, and now we got an extra life. That's why you see me using so many, super attacks, because it's such a pain trying to get past their guard otherwise. There is a crystal shard, or maybe just a crystal, I can't remember off the top of my head, in that crate. That's our third collectible. So, yeah. Freaking Triceratons. Do not try air attacks on the Triceratons. You will hurt yourself on their horns. I mean, diving supers are okay, but don't do jump kicks. Your best bet with the green guys is to get behind them and start whack-a-lating. They have less HP than the orange guys, but they do have those shields. So, keep that in mind. Ugh, and I hate how they enter. There's going to be another freaking, enemy that enters. If breaking that crate releases Dask, one of the neutrinos. And I am really sorry, the replacement voice actors, most of them do a really good job at least sounding roughly like who they're supposed to. And in most of the cases where they don't, you can tell why. Like, Casey Jones does not quite sound as much like a Dirty Harry parody, because they're leaning a little harder on his characterization from other media, because the one in the cartoon was kind of a bit part. That is the dimensional portal to Dimension X that we see in the Technodrome constantly. And now we have this dude. Yep. Okay, when you are at 3 ninja bars, if you taunt again, you create radical mode, which makes you hit twice as hard for ground and air attacks, but not for throws. You can't do supers. Your bar drains slowly, and then you're left with no super energy afterward. But it is an exceptional way to deal with this guy, because it can be very difficult to get supers off on him, and I don't feel like it chews his health bar down fast enough. If he's allowed to live long enough, he starts calling in Triceratons. Just a flood of them. Dinosaur stampede, and they will stomp you. So, yeah, you don't want to let him do that. I love how Mikey just sticks his head into the shot there. It's just, there's a beat and then Mikey. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me for Let's Play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, and I will see you next time when we will have a recording that will not fail. And I won't screw up the first audio take either. Bye.